Hey everybody, I got a couple of questions the other day from a subscriber, and well, I'm going to answer them because it looks at the emotional side of a hair transplant, and I think this is pretty interesting. So, these are very thought through questions, really coming from a place of someone who has obviously given this a lot of thought, and this must have been through a lot, emotionally speaking. So I really appreciate these questions. Anyway, getting through it, this is what the subscriber has asked. Going in depth on how hair loss has affected you personally as a 20-something-year-old. Well, I'll be brutally honest with you, didn't happen because, as you know, I had a transplant at 23, but I decided I was going to do that at age 19. So there was light at the end of the tunnel. Never bothered me, you know. It's a bit like, let's say, you're a bit strapped for cash at the moment, and I told you that, in 4 years you're going to be a millionaire. I think you'd be all right. I don't think it would bother you too much that you're strapped for cash at the moment, because there's light at the end of the tunnel. And that is exactly what hair restoration is. So there was no need for me to feel despair, depression, or anything. I never felt down about this. That's a great thing. Were you always going to fight hair loss? Absolutely. It was, I enjoyed the fight. And it's something that I love, anything that can improve you at the end of the day, So doing my research at around 19, I quickly realized that there's a couple of things that I can do to be guaranteed pretty much improvement, because I was so early on in the stage of hair loss. There was a lot of hope, and that was medication and surgery. So I said, right, I'm going to do surgery at some point, 23, 24, and I'm going to go on medication at some point. So eventually, anyway, cutting to the chase, at age 21, I addressed this issue. I started this process. And you must understand that for a 21-year-old to book a consultation with a hair restoration specialist with regards to getting on medication is a big deal, because it's expensive. It was €250, but if something means something, if something is important enough to you, you'll get the money. I had anyway, I was working, so it was fine, but still, 250 is a lot of money for a 21-year-old. You'd rather spend that out on a night. Well, even you wouldn't spend that on a night, but you know what I'm saying? That could really be stretched for multiple nights out in town or something. But it was a priority. And the prescription I got was Finasteride for a year, and I think that was just about €100. So straight away we're at €350 to sort this out. And after that, I all I had to do was tick off the days on the calendar, and I really did until I was 23, and then I went for a transplant, which cost a couple of €1,000. Again, as a 23-year-old, very few people do this. Very few people are committed to doing that, because it is a lot of money for a young man. Now, I was working at that time still. I've been working since 21, and getting the money was fine. I just did a bit of overtime every weekend and just built it up. Then I paid for it. And then I did the exact same when I was 27. I've probably put, I don't know, maybe In terms of surgery, I think I've had like €6,000 or €7,000 worth of hair restoration done. In terms of my bills for the annual checkups now, plus with the medication, again, I don't know, a few thousand. But this isn't all at once, so it's fine. But what I'm saying is all of these things are not for everybody. And you got to put your hand in your pocket if you're going to fight this. The next question he has is your view on shaving your head before making a commitment to go for a hair transplant. Absolutely not. That didn't happen. That thought wasn't even entertained. Let me tell you, because I don't look good with a shaved head, and I didn't even need to shave my head to realise that. Anyway, I ended up shaving my head during the COVID period with the full framing that I got from the 2 transplants, and it's still not for me, because it's not my identity at the end of the day. My identity is having, well, what you see now, hair. So yeah, I'm not interested in that thing that people say, oh, you should shave your head before getting a transplant. Bullshit. You want a transplant and you're a candidate and you want hair, get it. You know, just take medication with it too, please. Do yourself a favour. No, I'll leave this one for another day. Right, last question, because I'm conscious of time. I try not to make these videos too long. What would your plan for the future be? Have you another clinic in mind for FUE, or will you stick with your current surgeon? And that is a brilliant question that I really will enjoy answering. So I have had a home run twice with my surgeon, and I'm very proud to call him my surgeon, because that's what he is. Dr. Marvin Saifi in Poland. He has looked after me so well. He's changed my life. He's given me the identity that is me, which is this. This is me. And, you know, he's over-delivered in expectations twice. And, you know, I will stick with him for the rest of my life. You know, he's excellent. I really can't give him enough praise. And I would never go to another surgeon. Wouldn't make any sense. When you have something good, and this just goes for life in general, stick with it. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. But especially if it's superb, why would you even risk doing something else? You know, but Marvin Saifi is excellent artistic ability in terms of his design. I absolutely love what I've gotten done, and it's like he could look into my mind and say, you know, he wants this. It's incredible. So yes, I'm sticking with him. Now, in terms of, is there a plan? Well, no, because you have to take it as it comes. The best thing, the ultimate thing, was to establish framing. And that was done in 2 separate surgeries. So there was the band, which gave me a new hairline. And then there was the temporal points, which really are just essential for framing, for completing that job. And then the apex of the temporal point, you know, it really frames the face. It's in terms of aesthetics, it's highly valuable. And you must remember that I didn't have temporal points to begin with. My sides were somewhere here and up here. You know, it was bad. You know, I didn't feel comfortable in my own skin because of it. You know, I felt something was missing. And it's a very, very unpleasant feeling to have, and I had that throughout my teens. You know, when I copped it, when I copped what the problem was. Of course, I didn't know how to fix it in my teens. I was a teenager. You know, I had never even heard of a hair transplant until I really, you know, as I said, was just done at 19. Now that was a great feeling. That was a eureka moment. But yes, so that's pretty much my plan. Take it as it is, and he mentions in mind for FUE. Well, I tell you, my plan would be to do strip in the future. Should it be appropriate? Because my view on strip on FUT is that everything above, below, and to the side of that strip scar is preserved. It's untouched. Well, obviously in me it's not untouched because I've had FUE, but FUE tends to thin out the donor at a higher rate than strip, because you're cherry picking it. So part of my identity with my hair is my donor supply and the thickness of the donor, how it feels. It's me. And to have in the future, for argument's sake, 1,500 or 2,000 more FUEs when I've already had 1,000, I wouldn't like to even try that, to be honest with you. Whereas with a strip, I have no problem, because it's not going to thin out my donor to some extent. Now, when I would do FUE is if, let's say, I needed very small work done. So right now, everything with regards to the hair, the foundation has been established and the walls have been painted, but the paint will wear thin and it will need to be painted again. So I'm going to, at some point, need to put some hair back into the hairline, and probably beyond the temporal points around this area. So that's really it. But just to say, thank you very much for that subscriber who posed some very interesting questions to look at. Do keep them coming, But I would like to finish this off by saying it's very important to have a routine that allows you to live your life, that isn't obsessive, that doesn't interfere with life. Because why are we doing this? Why do we want to fix hair loss? Why do we want hair? Because we want that identity. Because it makes us feel attractive. Because it makes us feel young. There's so many reasons attached to it. But it's very important that one isn't completely consumed at fixing that problem, where it becomes debilitating. And this does happen an awful lot online. And I think that the only way around this is to have a routine that is very, very simple, that is quick, that allows you to just do it and then move on. Go about your day, live your life, enjoy it, have fun. That is, and I'm just being brutally honest, that is pharmacological intervention plus potentially surgery. And the pharmacological intervention is finasteride. There's no point in having finasteride phobia. You're not doing yourself any favours. It's number one. I talk about oral minoxidil on my channel, but it really isn't necessary. Whereas finasteride, I firmly believe, is. That's my stance on it. And I really don't talk about 4 things on my channel. Talk about, actually maybe even 3. Talk about finasteride, oral minoxidil, and transplantation. So yeah, that's really my message that I just want to say. The worst thing I think anybody can do is have these highfalutin treatments that are just based on nonsense, where you're dodging certain things throughout your day. It's almost ritualistic. You're not eating certain foods. You're eating in excess certain foods. It's based on nothing. Whatever basis it does have is so homeopathic that it doesn't even make a difference. Dosage matters. Again, it goes back to an active pharmaceutical ingredient, which is something you find that's finasteride for you. I could talk about this forever. I won't bore you any longer. Thank you for listening, and pleasure as always. More videos to come. Until next time, have a lovely evening.